Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If coin collecting is your hobby, then you've come to the right place. Today, we're talking about two Washington quarters that millions of Americans have seen, held, and probably spent without a second thought. Imagine reaching into your pocket, your old coin jar, or a forgotten drawer, and finding a quarter that's actually worth enough to buy a luxury car, or even help pay for a luxury home. It sounds unbelievable, but it's happened before. Most 1965 and 1981 Washington quarters are only worth 25 cents, and that's exactly why so many people ignore them every single day. They end up in vending machines, cash registers, and pocket change, without anyone realizing that a tiny number of these coins were struck with rare mint errors that collectors are willing to pay thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars to own. So before you spend another quarter, watch this video until the end, because one small detail could completely change the value of your coin. Let's get started. Our first coin is the 1965 Washington quarter. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary quarter. George Washington is on the front. The date says 1965, and nothing seems unusual. But 1965 was one of the most important years in the history of U.S. coinage. This was the year the United States Mint stopped making circulating quarters from 90% silver. Rising silver prices made it too expensive to continue, so the Mint introduced a new copper-nickel-clad composition. However, during this major transition, a few mistakes slipped through the Mint. Some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets that were meant for 1964 coins. Those rare transitional error coins have become legendary among collectors. If you happen to find a genuine 1965 quarter struck on a silver planchet, its value can be astonishing. Professional auction records have shown that authenticated examples can sell for tens of thousands of dollars, and exceptional specimens with strong eye appeal have reached around $92,000 at major auctions. So how can you tell if you might have one? The first clue is the weight. A normal-clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver version weighs around 6.25 grams. The second clue is the edge. Look closely at the edge of your coin. If you see a copper-colored stripe running through the middle, it's a normal-clad quarter. But if the edge is solid silver with no copper stripe, that's a sign your coin deserves a closer inspection. Another thing collectors look for is doubled die errors. On some rare coins, parts of the lettering or date appear doubled because of a mistake during die production. Look carefully at Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. Strong doubling can dramatically increase a coin's value. Also watch for off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, broad strikes, and major die cracks. These mint errors are far less common than ordinary circulation wear, and can make an otherwise common quarter highly collectible. Now let's move on to the second coin, the 1981 Washington quarter. Most people think this coin is too modern to be valuable. That's exactly why so many collectors search for it. While billions of 1981 quarters were produced, finding one in outstanding condition is surprisingly difficult. Many entered circulation immediately and became heavily worn, leaving very few high-grade examples. But that's not the only reason collectors want them. Some 1981 quarters were struck with fascinating mint errors. One of the most desirable is the double die obverse, where parts of the design and lettering show noticeable doubling under magnification. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, and dramatic struck-through errors that occurred during the minting process. These unusual mistakes make each coin unique. A normal circulated 1981 quarter is still worth face value, but a rare mint error, or an exceptional mint state example, certified by a professional grading service, can be worth hundreds, thousands, or in the rarest cases, tens of thousands of dollars. And that's why experienced collectors never judge a coin by its face value alone. Sometimes, the smallest details make the biggest difference. Now, here's something many people don't realize. Some of the most valuable Washington quarters weren't discovered by professional coin dealers. They were found by everyday Americans, checking pocket change, old piggy banks, family coin collections, or inherited jars filled with loose coins. That's why experts always say one thing: never assume a quarter is only worth 25 cents until you've examined it carefully. If you own a 1981 Washington quarter, start by looking at the mint mark. You'll either find no mint mark, a D for Denver, or an S on proof coins from San Francisco. Each version has its own market, but collectors are especially interested in coins with unusual striking errors or exceptionally high grades. Now grab a magnifying glass if you have one. Look closely at the word Liberty, the date 1981, In God We Trust, and George Washington's profile. If you notice extra lines, doubling, or letters that appear slightly shifted, don't ignore it. While not every coin with these characteristics is valuable, genuine double die varieties are among the most sought-after error coins. Next, inspect the rim. Does the design appear off-center? Is part of the coin missing because it was struck on a clipped planchet? Can you see raised cracks running across the surface? These are all mint-made errors, and collectors love coins with dramatic mistakes, because every error tells a unique story from the production process. Now let's talk about condition. Condition is one of the biggest factors affecting value. A worn quarter that's been in circulation for decades usually sells for very little, unless it has a rare error. But a coin that still has its original mint luster, sharp details, and almost no wear could receive a high mint state grade from professional grading companies